Let's talk a little bit about international investment. We see there's a new report out, as a matter of fact, Unleash Global Investment in America, how TTIP and TPP have the power to increase global investment in the United States and create new American jobs. Joining us now is Nancy McLernon, who is President and CEO of Organization for International Investment. The Twitter handle is @InsourceJobsUSA. Nancy, thank you for being here today.
Thanks for having me. Good morning.
Let's talk, first of all, Transatlantic Trade and Investment Partnership is TTIP, the Trans-Pacific Partnership, TPP. They are being negotiated and include most major U.S. trade partners. TTIP is Europe, and the Trans-Pacific, obviously, is the Pacific, right?
Right, absolutely. Last week, a major development, the Congress introduced bipartisan legislation called Trade Promotion Authority. And what that is able to do is that the administration and Congress are able to bring those two agreements to the floor of the Congress for an up or down vote, so that when those negotiations are done with the two countries, Congress will not have the power to amend it, which, if you can imagine, if they had the power to amend it, it would break down all negotiations with another country. So the legislation that was introduced last week that we've been waiting for some time will give the administration the ability to bring the bill, the negotiations before Congress for an up or down vote.
The fast track authority that you're referring to would mean no, as you mentioned, no amendments, up or down vote. And critics also say it means it's negotiated in secret. It is presented as either take it or leave it, and it might be something minor that people would turn down. So this finds the president, strangely enough, allied with Republicans, but Democrats are against the president. Why does it line up that way?
Well, trade sometimes can be a partisan issue, and I think part of that is because there's just not enough that's understood about it. I mean, for example, I don't know a politician who doesn't support Toyota opening a new facility in their district or their state. The ribbon cutting of all those new investments. And what the study that we're releasing today shows, not only will TTIP and TPP, help the United States export more to those countries, but it'll make us more competitive for foreign investment from TTIP and TPP countries, which, if you look at where we have investment from today, about 90% of foreign investment that the U.S. has today comes from those countries. And it means a lot. 5.8 million Americans already work for foreign-owned companies, heavily concentrated in the manufacturing sector, about 2.2 million jobs at foreign-owned companies in the U.S. And with approval of a successfully negotiated TTIP and TPP, we're looking at another 1.4 trillion jobs. That's huge. So, here's another reason to get these agreements through. Again, I think the partisanship is based on people just not sort of digging through on what these agreements really will bring.
Well, the partisanship, what's odd about it is that the president, a Democrat, finds himself at odds with his own party, and he is actually allied with Republicans. And so I wonder, does it just mean that once you're in the White House, you have a different perspective on the issues, or is it something else?
Yeah, I think that maybe perhaps that you're not as vulnerable maybe to some of the partisan rhetoric when it comes to big national agreements like this that we do with other countries. I think perhaps that you're able to pull away from some of those partisan arguments. And look, when you're faced with the U.S. losing competitiveness because other countries are moving ahead with these types of agreements, the U.S. has lost global investment. Over the last 10 years or so, the U.S. has gone from attracting 37% of all the world's investment to now about 19%. And one of the reasons is that we've not embraced the global economy as much as others. I saw an article a few weeks ago in the Wall Street Journal about how autos are doing more in Mexico because Mexico has more trade agreements than the U.S. These companies need to be able to operate more seamlessly across border. They need to be able to use wherever they're manufacturing as an export platform. Without trade agreements, it makes it extremely difficult to do that.
Once again, we are speaking with Nancy McLernon, President, CEO of the Organization for International Investment. Their report out today, Unleash Global Investment in America. There are concerns and some criticisms of this, both the TTIP and the TPP and the fast track, that there are a couple of things missing. One is transparency. Another is the idea that maybe there will be an adverse economic impact. For example, that U.S. jobs will disappear, and people point to NAFTA saying this cost America jobs. How would you respond to those complaints or criticisms?
The world is moving ahead. The world is engaging with the global economy. We have to figure out how best to adapt. So, with anything, with new technology or mergers and acquisitions, we need to figure out what to do with those that are hurt by the progress forward. But not taking that progress, not taking those steps leaves us further behind. It's interesting, when you look at the states, the top 5 states that will benefit from jobs related to foreign direct investment, should these agreements go through, you've got Minnesota, another 26,000 jobs, New Mexico, Maryland, another 30,000 jobs, Vermont, a little over 3,000, which is about 7% of their workforce, Washington State, 27,000 jobs, 7.3% of their workforce. Again, we need to look at how we can become more global, because global firms want to engage with the global economy, and we need to be able to make it competitive for them to do so here.
There's also a complaint or concern about both TTIP and the Trans-Pacific Partnership that somehow this is going to lead the U.S. down the slippery slope of deregulation of banks, that the financial regulations of Dodd-Frank will become obsolete or somehow changed because in order to reach these trade agreements, those regulations will go by the wayside. How would you respond to that?
Well, the negotiations are not through yet. We haven't seen what's going to come out of them, and Congress will have the ability to vote up or down if they don't like the direction that it's going. Again, when you look at something this large, trade agreements with countries that represent 90% of all global investment in the U.S., you've got to look at the full picture. You can't look at one issue here or there. Other countries simply wouldn't negotiate with us if Congress was able to change negotiations that had been going on for years.
What kind of a term is there attached to these both of these trade agreements? How long would they run, or has that even been decided?
No, it has been decided. I actually don't have that information, so I don't want to give it to you right now, but they usually go for a period of time. The administration had fast track for some time. It had been had by both Republican and Democratic presidents, and now President Obama needs to seek it again before finishing up these agreements. I
wanted to finish up by noting that your organization says that you are in favor of insourcing jobs, and I wonder how this particular agreement, these agreements, would move in that direction.
Well, yeah, in-source jobs are jobs when foreign companies make a deliberate decision to invest in the United States and grow our economy. So as I mentioned earlier, 5.8 million jobs from foreign-owned companies have been insourced here. I think people know what outsourcing is. This is insourcing, when a non-U.S. company invests here and generates jobs. TTIP and TPP could bring an additional 1.4 trillion jobs if we get those agreements done.
Coming from where?
Coming from TTIP and TPP countries.
Understood. So, in other words, but it just would there? I'm guessing there would be some major countries that would be involved in this. That's an awful lot of jobs.
The top 3 would be the United Kingdom, Japan, and Germany.
Okay. Well, we will see how the negotiations go. We appreciate you spending time with us today. This report is out today. Nancy McLernon, thank you for joining us on POTUS.
Thank you very much.
Nancy McLernon is President, CEO of the Organization for International Investment, joining us discussing their report out today on the economic impact of trade. And, of course, in the background here is this discussion over fast-track authority the president has asked for. Democrats are loath to give it to him. Republicans are fine with it, it seems, right now. There will be votes on this, but fast-track authority for approving these deals, the TTIP, this is the Trans-Pacific Partnership is the TPP, and the TTIP is once again with Europe, which takes us to a totally different level. Anyway, the report, we will have more about that as you go out through the day, and the Twitter handle is @InsourceJobsUSA.